49er mind is
It's not just a thought process, but a way of life.
49er mind. 49er mind.
Can't shake it. It's 49er mind that I got. It's 49er shine that I got. My psyche's on another Frisco Super Bowl. Don't sit slow, cause here we go with a super show. A red and gold session. I thought I read a gold obsession. With some well-controlled expressions. Let's talk about that win that we got. A who should have been in the spot. That's how it's been in the spot. Just all that back, all that crack, all that straight fumble sack. Or just dial it on up if you wanna talk smack. It don't matter what the storyline, as long as the story aligns with a 49er mind.
49er mind.
It's not just a thought process,
49er mind,
but a way of life. For sure.
49er mind.
Way of life.
49er mind.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Ballin' with Bash and Ted. I'm 49er Minded, where we get into the minds of 49er fans. We got Ted with me. How you doing, bro?
Good, Bash. Happy Friday. Happy Faithful Friday. Let's see Bosa get signed today. Put all our minds at rest. Going into this Labor Day weekend, that would be a really good thing for our front office and Bosa to do, so they don't both end up looking selfish or petty or nitpicky or cheap or greedy, whatever the way you want to put it. But yeah, I know I'm excited to be here, excited to chop it up with you. I was joking earlier when you did the promo, like, oh, has anything happened since we talked last week? Because obviously a lot of big stuff going on with the Niners, as it seems like every week. And really excited to chop it up with you as always. So also just want to make sure to tell people, since we're on both channels, if you're on TED Talks Ball, make sure you get over to 49er Minded, give Bash a like and a subscribe. Same thing if you're on 49er Minded, come on over to TED Talks Ball, do the same. If you're on a browser, open up two tabs. You can watch both shows at the same time. Gives us more view hours. It really helps us out. If you're on a phone and maybe you have a tablet, you can watch on two devices. So thanks in advance, everybody, for your help on that.
That reminds me, because I don't have yours opened up yet. But let me just, there are people waiting patiently. We started off a little bit later. So we got Fired Up 49ers. What's up, bro? He says, pay Nick Bosa. SG Sports Talk Challenge, Shardal. Check him out. What's up, Shardal? We're Roski, all the way from Southern California. He's pumped up. A lot of people are really, really pumped up for the season. I'm way behind schedule, but I'm always like this. I'm always a late bloomer when it comes to being hyped up about the Niners. But once it kicks in, I'm louder than most people. Let's just say that. So we got James Durnall all the way in the UK. How you doing, bro? Says doing stuff in another tab, and the intro made me mad shit myself. All right, bro. I guess it's the first time you see the song. Appreciate it, though. That's a rap song by 49er dude over in LA. He's a big Niner fan, been on the show before. Great guy. He might hop in the chat. Who knows? Fazil says we need to sign Bosa. Yes, we do. Says up, Bash and Ted. Danielle, she says, hey, family, this intro always gets me hella hyphy. It kind of does have that little hyphy feel to it, even though it's not done by a Bay rapper, but the beat. Actually, one 49er dude ran me by the beats for making a 49er Minded theme song. He gave me 4 or 5 different pre-made beats and said, which one do you want picked? So that was the one I picked, and I think that one sounded the best. John LaJoy says, what's up, bro? Great to have you. And David Corona from Crown Town says, what's up, homies? 49ers all day. They need to pay Nick Bosa. Can't wait for the season to start. Yes, they do. They very much do. You know, it's funny because last time you and I were live, we're talking about this whole Trey Lance scenario and, where is he going to go? And is he going to stick with the team? Or what's going to happen? And possibly about 15 minutes after we ended the stream, the news just, people were getting texts left and right. People were getting phone calls. People were tweeting, and the news dropped.
What news is that, man?
Oh, you don't know? Trey Lance, the Cowboys. Remember last week, 15 minutes after we finished our show, that was when the news dropped, when Trey Lance got traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it was a bitter pill to swallow. I feel like a big mistake by Kyle. I feel like Lance is better than Darnold and rapidly improving. Obviously, way better than Brendan Allen. So our QB room got weaker. And to trade him to the Dallas Cowboys just didn't make sense to me. In that they're an NFC rival. We've eliminated them from the playoffs the last 2 years. They have a really good defense. They have really good weapons. They have a really good O-line. Obviously, Trey Lance is QB3 there, but injuries happen, and I can just tell you, the Cowboys didn't trade a 4th-round pick for somebody to be their 3rd-string quarterback for very long. So I wouldn't expect Lance to stay there very long. I would say this season would be the longest, and then he would probably move up to QB2 during the offseason at the latest. It may happen sooner than that. And I just I hope it doesn't turn out to bite us in the ass, because it really seems like it could.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here talking about this Trey Lance stuff all season long. This I said last show was gonna be the last time, but then again, I didn't get to talk to you about it, so this will probably be the last time. This should be the last time that we talk about it, unless something crazy, drastic happens. Who knows? But it's kind of weird though. He did go to a team where the quarterback room is full now, and then we do know that Dak is gonna have a contract situation coming up. Maybe Jerry Jones doesn't want to pay him, possibly, if he can. They can have Lance get ready with their offense and have him learn their scheme, and they think he's ready, and they think he could possibly step in and be the starter. Another thing is Cooper Rush, though. Cooper Rush did have some success, and a lot of Cowboy fans are really high on him, and they like him as a backup. So it's a very interesting situation. I wasn't expecting much in value for a possible trade, just for the simple fact that if you're not playing in games, you're not going to draw any value from any teams. That's just how it is. So. But at the end of the day, he wanted out, and they fulfilled his requests, and that's how the business goes. And he's no longer a Niner, and the show must go on with the 49ers and San Francisco 49er fans, and we're supporting this team. Brock Purdy's our starting quarterback. That's who we're supporting, and that's who we're going by. So it is what it is. So let me just say what's up to some other people that just hopped in. I just started laughing because I think Randy was trying to rap, but we got Ryan from No Border Sports here says, "What's up, everyone?" I'm not sure if you saw it, right? I think I texted it to you. People were tweeting out this snippet from the oh my gosh, that's so bad, from the Eric Crocker show. And before I clicked on the video, I swear I thought it was you. Once I clicked on the video, the voice was different. I could tell the guy didn't really look like you. But in the thumbnail, I thought it was you, and he was the guy who was saying they put him out there because he went on some rant about how Kyle messed up bad and with handling the quarterback situations, and he said something. He made a reference to I hope he doesn't treat his kids like that, and it was a huge backlash, like, oh wow, he's talking about Kyle's kids or something like that. But just Ryan, it kind of reminded me of you when I saw the video. I'm not sure if you saw it. I thought I sent it to you. Anyways, so who else is here? Randy's doing a little rap for us, I think. It says Ted and Gold, if I can rap this properly because I'm reading it for the first time. Ted and Gold bash breaks molds. Opinions are bold because these dudes be mad. But the show is real nice, like the smell of Old Spice, and they like their porridge real hot and not cold. That's funny. That's funny. All right, so we got.
I like it, Randy. He's got the bars.
Yeah, he's got more bars in a candy store. Am I missing somebody? Okay, East Coast Niner is here. Says, "What's up, guys? That Lance trade depressed me. Why the cow? Yeah, why the Cowboys exactly? I mean, whatever. We hate the Cowboys, and it is what it is." Terradome's here. What's up, Terradome? Good to see you. He's been on the show recently. He says he rocks with Brock. Had him on recently. I said, "What up, man?" And it was a lot of fun when Terradome was on with Ryan and myself on Tuesday. Raphael 562 Niners is here. Says, like and subscribe, everyone. Great to see you, bro. Crazy Juice. I think this guy's a big wrestling fan because he's got some type of what do they call those luchador, Mexican wrestler type masks. 49er logo. Says, "What's up, Ryan and Terradome?" I don't know if he's Mexican himself, but I like his little avatar there. I don't know if I'm missing anybody else, but yeah, Kenny says he rocks with Brock. Oh no, that's sorry, it's Chardall. Because I rock with Brock and
Silly Funky in the house.
That's who we're rocking with. Brock Purdy's coming off of a major injury, a UCL surgery, and a lot of people, including myself, thought due to the severity of his injury, we thought maybe that it may take till week 4 for us to possibly see him step in actual football action. And he did a great job of recovering with amazing speedy recovery that was unprecedented. So hats off to him. He's in training. He got to training camp early, and I guess there were some ups and downs in training camp, but hopefully he's gotten those things out of the way, and we'll see how he fares in week 1.
Yeah, indeed we will. The fact that we're still deloading and things like that it makes me wonder if we didn't bring him back a little bit too early. We saw it in camp that he didn't do all the warm-ups, and we're still seeing it. For someone who's supposedly 100%, he sure doesn't seem like 100% to me. During the preseason games, he did nothing but dink and dunk. And we saw that again last Friday night. If you recall from the offseason bash, I never said dink and dunk when it came to Brock Purdy. I said he's not dink and dunk. He just has limited arm. And but in this preseason, it's been nothing but dink and dunk. No deep throws, no TD throws. He's had some nice drives and some that ended that weren't the fault of his, like with the Mason fumble Friday night on the goal line. And he had one where he ran it in against the Broncos, but he still hasn't thrown a TD in the preseason. And so that's a little bit of a concern, and no deep balls, especially since I noted during camp that he didn't have any nice deep balls in camp. They were all long or short in camp. So, I've been concerned about Purdy all along. I was one of the first to air concerns about it when I was on with Ryan Hensley and Rob Stats Guerrera, reporting live from camp. And I still have concerns about him.
I had concerns about the injury because just for the fact that I don't know if teams were going to try to target him or if some huge, gigantic, ginormous defensive lineman just, flops all his weight on top of that elbow. How's he going to respond? We saw, a crazy situation back when Alex Smith was our quarterback, when Rocky Bernard just threw all his weight on top of Alex Smith's shoulder, and it was never the same. He never had the same deep ball. Alex Smith, in that 1 year, I believe it was the second year in the league with Frank Gore, he had a really, really nice deep ball. And that was when it looked like Alex Smith was going to come around, and then that injury derailed him, unfortunately. But hopefully it doesn't for Purdy, because I'm not going to feel good if Darnold's going to be playing games. I would have felt a whole lot better. A lot of Lance haters going to hate me saying this because he's a Cowboy now, but I'm sorry. I mean, I just would have felt way better had Lance been the backup for Purdy. I thought that would have been a really nice situation to have as an insurance policy. But it is what it is. We have to find a way to protect Brock properly. This week 1 game against the Steelers isn't going to do us any favors. We're going to be facing TJ Watt and Colton McKivitz, who didn't look too bad in the preseason. But then again, he wasn't facing any fierce pass rushers either, So it's going to be very interesting to see how Purdy holds up this season. Hopefully he does.
Yeah, Colton McKivitz not going up against Nick Bosa all camp. Huge mistake by the Niners not getting Bosa signed or Bosa being greedy. I'm not sure what the case may be. Sounds like they're far apart right now, where the Niners are offering $31 million a year and Bosa wants $35. Hopefully they can meet in the middle at 33. I think that's a fair number. 35 could be doable, but that's where I start to squirm around that number for a defensive end when Aaron Donald's only making 31.7, $3 million and change less. So, yeah, I mean, McKivitz, week 1, huge concern. We don't have any defensive ends that are close to TJ Watt that he's been going up against. And I would say we don't have any defensive ends really as good as Alex Highsmith, their second edge. So, that's a big concern. Kittle is nursing a growing abductor type of injury. So no telling if Kittle will play or if he'll be 100% week 1. Hufanga has the Baker cyst on his knee, which isn't an injury in and of itself, but it's a symptom of an injury where fluid collects in a sac basically inside your kneecap, inside the knee joint behind your kneecap. And it can be a symptom of meniscus tear. And that could be 4 to 6 weeks if it's a shave, type of, if he has to get surgery and it's shaved. If he has to get surgery and it's a repair, that could cost him most of the season, just like Mostert in 2021. So, there's some concerns. Kicker's a concern. Run defense is a concern. There's a lot of concerns on this team right now, and it's a shame.
Injuries never escape this roster for whatever reason. Every year, I think we're going to have a big break, a big medical break, regardless of what medical teams they bring in, what training staffs they bring in. There's always some weird, stupid injury, and I get it. It's football. What's up, Jess from East Coast Red and Gold podcast? She says Hufanga is fine. Hopefully he is. I'm not stressing too hard about what I heard about him. Hopefully he'll be good. We do have Ji'Ayir Brown waiting in the wings, though, if he doesn't play. And if worst came to worst, so I'm not really too worried about that. I think Ji'Ayir Brown's going to be a nice, promising rookie, and I wouldn't want him to be the starter full time, because I love Hufanga as a player, and even Tayshaun Gibson had a really, really nice season last year. And he still had a good camp. DW's here. I think he's a new person to the channel. Welcome to the channel. It says 35 is ridiculous. I think he's talking about Bosa's contract. He says trade him if that's the number. Welcome to the channel. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. If you're on my channel, and check out Ted's channel too. Like Ted says, you can open up 2 tabs on the browser if you're watching on a laptop, and just like and subscribe both channels. We appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, all these injuries just pile up year after year, and it kind of sucks that we were hearing about this, going into a possible week 1 scenario, and and it went back to Brock Purdy, because we were talking about his injury. Like, this goes back to why I wanted why I wanted better tackle depth on the O-line, why I wanted to strengthen the O-line. We had 2 quarterbacks go down with injuries in the NFC Championship game. Year after year, our backup quarterback, whoever that is, with the quarterback carousel that this team always has, that quarterback always plays. So it's like, I mean, it would be nice to be like other teams where they have seasons where, the quarterback sits there and plays a full season, just stack seasons upon seasons. But do we see it this year? Does Brock Purdy finish out the whole season, finish out the whole playoff run? Hopefully, because I'd hate to, again, I don't want to go to Darnold. I don't want to go to our backups. Dion's here from Niner Game Podcast. Says, "What's up, Bash and Ted? Good to see the chat's been really, really busy in general. So if you guys do have questions and concerns, I'm gonna try to field them as much as I possibly can. It just, when it goes as fast as it does sometimes, it's on my end. It's really hard to keep up with. So I do apologize if I'm missing anybody, but I'll definitely shout out every name that I see. I always make sure to do that." Danielle says, "Bashar, do you have any concerns about CMC being overutilized?" I noticed at times, there were times during last season where I felt like Shanahan was not mixing up the running backs. And like you said, you mentioned Jordan Mason earlier. He looks really nice this preseason. Now, he could have did a much better job of holding onto the ball and on that 1 touchdown that he should have had against the Chargers. And I think in general, he's had issues. Did he have issues in camp with holding onto the ball? I think that was kind of like a regular thing with him, right? With JP Mason.
Yeah, Mason fumbled in camp, and obviously, the preseason game on the goal line, like I already mentioned, against the Chargers. Mason is officially, I mean, if we're not going to call him a fumbler, he's a fumbler concern.
Very true. Back in the day, my friends and I used to kind of throw the word fumbler around, and we kind of used to make a joke about Roger Craig, because Roger Craig had that big fumble in the NFC Championship game against the Giants, which that was one of the most painful 49er games to ever watch. Hopefully,
CMC is a concern that Kyle will overuse him, because Elijah Mitchell is injury prone until proven otherwise. Mason is a fumbler, and TDP can't block. He also, I don't think he's really proven he can really run the ball that effectively in real games either. He looked good in camp, but they're not really tackling in camp, so it's not quite as impressive.
As far as the running backs go, I mean, so we mentioned Jordan Mason. Elijah Mitchell, they said, is cleared and he's fully healthy, supposedly. But what sucks is, as talented as Elijah Mitchell is, and explosive a runner as he is, and he's not a big guy, but he runs with some nice power and he does some good things, but we can never have him when we need him. It just sucks. It really, really sucks. Hopefully he breaks that and we don't have to worry about him not being healthy anymore, and we can that would be an amazing 1-2 punch if we had it all year long. CMC and Elijah Mitchell. I wouldn't even care about JP Mason or TDP. I do want TDP to succeed. I have been rooting for him. Met his dad, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, he looks really, really bad in terms of pass blocking. He whiffed on a major block in that preseason game against the Broncos, I believe, where Purdy did get sacked. So that's cause for concern.
There were several. That was the worst.
I remember Terradome was the first to mention it to me too, because I didn't sit there and rewatch any of these games, to be honest with you. And Terradome was the first to mention it to me about him.
Speaking of Terradome, he said Ted short stocks. So he feels like I'm being a pessimist about the 49ers. I just say I'm being a realist, and I'm seeing issues with this team. And it just feels different to me than 2019, 2020, 2021, or 2022, where I was very bullish on this team going into the season. We'll probably get to predictions later for the season predictions, but I'll just give you a sneak preview that I have revised mine down again. I had it at one number. I lowered it because of the minus 20 rest days, one game, and now I'm going at least one game lower than that now for our season total. And we can get to that later, I'm sure, in the show as it makes sense.
Yeah. It's okay, man. Hopefully you and Ted can patch up that relationship. I made a little joke about it when I had Ted on Tuesday because we mentioned about the depth chart, and it was we went back to that one time where Ted mentioned that Trey Lance was third on the depth chart according to ESPN, and we had a little fun with it. But hopefully you guys do patch things up again. Let me say what's up to Sam. I think I know who this is. I'm pretty sure I know who this is. So what's up, bro? Good to see you. If it's who
anybody believes that Trey Lance is our third best quarterback is enjoy that thought, but it will be you'll see what happens if Sam Darnold ever gets in a game. Just pray he doesn't. Is all I can tell you. Pray that he doesn't, because there was no competition. There was no. Kyle made up his mind as soon as he decided to bring, Darnold here. There was no real competition. Because Lance was way better in camp. I'm sorry. And in the preseason games, he struggled some, but part of that was the play calling. No runs in the Raider game for the first 3 drives. And then, in the Broncos game, when he finally got a little rhythm, he was doing stuff that no other QB on this roster can do. Not even Purdy. I'm sorry. And just look at the clip I clipped out of Eric Crocker saying the same thing. If Lance could be consistently like that, none of the QBs on this roster could touch him. Period.
Yeah. I mean, Lance has gone. I don't want to talk about him too much, but
No, I know, me neither.
He played really, really nice in that Bronco game, and he threw
brought
the ball.
It up. So
he threw for a whole lot of yards, and he was asked to throw a lot, but he did a great job with it, and it really looked like he came around. And it just sucks that Kyle did what he did to name the QB2. I think that was a huge disservice, and I don't blame him for wanting to be traded. And we all assumed that he would do that. So. Sucks. I just wish the best for Lance, but sucks that he's on the Cowboys. So what can you do? Darlo Murray's here. What's up, bro? How you doing? Good friend of mine from Facebook says, I believe Trey was our best quarterback, to be honest, but Purdy and Trey should have shot it out with the starters. I'm for sure he would have beaten Purdy. It would have been nice to see what would have happened if they had a real pure competition. Purdy does a lot of things. I say he does do a lot of things that work well with the 49er offense, with the scheme, with certain things that Kyle wants. Maybe Trey Lance doesn't have those things mastered, but Trey Lance can do other things that Purdy necessarily doesn't do. So it would have been interesting. It really would have. And then you would have had a clear-cut answer. And then Trey would have been, number 2 and Purdy number 1, not this number 3 BS. That whole number 3 thing just ruined Trey Lance's dreams and opportunities with the Niners, and it sucked. It was crazy.
And Kyle made sure with Operation Prop Up Purdy, he made sure to never show us Trey Lance with CMC. There was maybe one series on the last Saturday of camp, the second to last camp camp practice. They got maybe one series together. That's it. The entire offseason of Lance with CMC. And so, you can say anything you want about Purdy does this better than Lance or whatever, but we just will never know because we never got to see Lance with CMC. So
or we barely saw him with Kittle, and we, just a whole full slate. We didn't really see him. It is what it is. It's gone. It's over with now. And this is what can we do, man? He's not even on the team anymore. What's up, Nicholas Akalati? Says Trey Lance not being on the 49ers makes me depressed. That's Nick from the locker room ranks, a Browns fan. He's always on with John V and Tony, Buffalo Bills fan. I've been on there a few times. Great guys. And I'm surprised. Are you being sarcastic, Nick? I don't know, man. I think I talked to John, though, and he told me that you and Tony weren't really happy with the way things played out. I do understand that. Even though you weren't 100% sold on Trey. I totally get that. Eric Wallace is here. What's up, bro? It's good to see you. And SG Sports Talk channel did drop me Venmo. So I sent you $1 through Venmo. Hey, really appreciate it. You didn't have to do that, but there is a Venmo in the description box. There's a link to it. So if you click on
Jimmy
it,
Perez in the house too.
Well, yeah. I saw Jimmy. Where's he at? Jimmy says, "What's up, Bashar and Ted? Happy Friday. Good to see you. If I'm missing anybody, just let me know. Say what's up in the chat." Yeah, man. I mean, just this whole. I swear, man, this is such a crazy. Never quiet in the 49ers quarterback room in terms of what's going on, the coaching and decisions that are made. All I gotta say is, Kyle said Purdy's the real deal, and that means we should be having a top-notch season. That means we should be contending for the Super Bowl, and there's a lot to be excited about, I guess. So I'm not as excited as a whole bunch of other people are, but it's all good. If
we're too good to develop Trey Lance, And we better be good enough to win it all this season. You can't have it both ways.
That's what they've been saying these past few years. It's a Super Bowl window, and people fear that guys like George Kittle and Trent Williams are going to all retire ringless. So, I honestly, I think it's a 2-year window for this team and Kyle to win one. I'm not saying I want Kyle fired. Not saying I want John Lynch fired, but this is a business. I mean, 2017 till now, if we're fielding arguably the best rosters in the NFL, something's got to give eventually. And it's not, I don't want to come on this channel like I've been doing over the past 2-3 years and just start making a whole bunch of excuses for Kyle. Oh, we lost this game because this happened, that happened. It wasn't Kyle's fault. It wasn't Kyle's fault that we lost this playoff game. I've said that multiple times. It wasn't Kyle's fault that we lost the Super Bowl. It was somebody else. It's like, at the end of the day, I can't just sit up here and make excuses upon excuses for Kyle. There has to be some accountability held towards his way, somewhere or another, somewhere in the future. And he's not going to be the head coach for the next 20 years. I mean, let's be real. So Super Bowl does have to come our way, and we all want number 6. I don't see why anybody would get mad at me or anybody else saying that we have to win the Super Bowl.
You can sit there and make excuses. You can make excuses for why we didn't get this quarterback, that quarterback, this quarterback, that quarterback, why we didn't win this NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, the other NFC Championship game. And at the time, it kind of all makes sense. But then as you start to look at it as a whole, it starts to look a lot more damning. And that's where we are, where we're rolling into 2023, and we've settled on Purdy, who, was a great story as a rookie, but as a veteran QB, he was, maybe average, maybe a little above average, as I said, mid, which is maybe a mean way to say, but say middle of the pack if you like that better. And that was before his injury, and now he's gotten injured, and now he hasn't looked as good since. And so we're rolling into the season with all our eggs in that basket, because I can tell you, Sam Darnold ain't carrying any eggs. He ain't. He's more like the fox that steals your eggs.
He's a yes man. We all know that Kyle didn't want the distraction, because we see how he's responding to the media right now at the aftermath of Trey being gone, and now Jimmy saying what he's saying, and it's just more distraction for Kyle right now. He's hoping it fades away once they start winning games of the season, and we better start winning. Hopefully we do, so we don't have to think about all this dumb stuff that's been.
Hey, Terradome's right. This is therapy for me. Thanks, Terradome. I'm glad you can see that.
This is a therapy session. It's a therapy session. I got all my therapy out. Let's just say when I was on with Dion on his channel, there were plenty of F-bombs dropped. There were this is the day before Lance got traded, and it was Dion, myself, and John V, and we had a ball just talking about all this stuff, and it was just, yeah, there were a lot of emotions. Let's just say that. And Kenny had a funny question to Fired Up 49ers, and I'm going to get to a few other people that just came in here really quick. Fired Up 49ers says, question, if you had a song and dance called Do the Debo, I guess that's for me, I don't know. I don't know, for Debo himself. He said, what would the dance look like? What would the dance look like for Ted? I don't know. I don't understand this question at all, Kenny. But
I mean, last year it looked like this. He had his hand out and he was, trying to get his money, and he got it.
He got it.
For Debo, he deserved a big contract, and I'm happy for him. And I just hope now this season he's gotten himself into shape, and he can be more like 2021, where he really balled out, because I think we're going to need it.
Debo looked really, really explosive in the preseason. They set up some cute little passes for Brock Purdy to throw short to him, and Debo turned up the field, and he looked really, really nice. So I just hope that Debo has worked on some route running type things, increased his route patterns to be more similar to Ayuk in that matter. That'd be nice to see, especially since he commanded a lot of money. Sean John's here. How you doing, bro? He says, has anyone asked Kyle to clarify real deal? What if he just means a legit starter, not the great one? Because people like Ted keep bringing up his limitations. Kyle did have a press conference, I think a couple of weeks later or a week later, where he backpedaled a little bit. Do you remember what he said?
I don't remember exactly what he said, but he walked it back. But I mean, ultimately, like, if Kyle thinks that, Purdy's the real deal and the next Breeze, and he thinks that, that Sam Darnold is Steve Young, and and he thinks he's the best play caller in the NFL, then maybe they don't feel like they need Bosa. Maybe that's why they're lowballing Bosa. So Kevin McCulligan had a great tweet about that. So check him out. But this could be the mindset. They could be believing their own SHI. You know what? And it would explain what they're doing. They're messing around with Bosa, because if we don't sign Bosa, we're not winning a Super Bowl, folks. It ain't gonna happen. I mean, I said I have my doubts before, but like I would flat out tell you, we might not even make the playoffs without Bosa.
I really hope this Bosa deal gets done. I'm going to chime in on that in just a minute. Let me see what's up to Master Andy Craft. A good friend of mine over in Texas says, I read something today. In the last four years, Kyle's been through three different starting quarterbacks. Yeah, it's been a quarterback carousel here, and hopefully Purdy is the guy. I mean, I'd hate to see. Who knows? They might dig Purdy around some way somehow and say, you know what, you were good this year, but guess what? From 2017, we had a plan to get Kirk Cousins, and we botched that plan when we brought in Jimmy G. But now Cousins is going to come to where he needs to be, and then that just messes up everything for Purdy. So who knows? I don't even see. I wouldn't mind Cousins, but I don't really see him as a top dog quarterback either. So it's just kind of weird. Hopefully we don't have to keep changing quarterbacks over and over again. And
Cousins is expensive too.
What's up?
Cousins is expensive too.
He is. He's going to be very, very expensive. And I know they have, obviously they didn't want to pay Lance's salary. That was part of shipping him out, and other than his request. And just we got to sign all these big name top guys. So all that relying on the quarterback salary is just going to be. I don't see how it's going to work for what Kyle and John want to do. We got two.
Name your source. It's Steve-O. It's
okay. Yeah.
Steve-O.
So he says,
name your source. This is going around. This is like common knowledge at this point that the Niners are offering 31 and Bosa wants 35, Steve-O. So
they're $4 million apart. From what I understand, from the whispers that I've heard, that Bosa has an extreme. I'm wording this in the most politically diplomatic way I can, because the real words that we're throwing around behind the scenes were not pretty. But Bosa's agent is just extremely difficult. He's being a stickler. He's just not, they had a deal set in place to make everything happen and have all parties be happy. And the agent just threw a wrench in everybody's plans. And this is just going to be, this is drawn out. It's just delayed, and it just sucks. I was predicting that a deal would get done today. Some people think a deal might get done tomorrow. But then when people are saying $4 million apart, is a deal going to get done by week one? It would really suck to go into Pittsburgh and not having Bosa. This defense does not look the same without Bosa in the lineup.
Sean John was asking why I brought up Breeze. It's because it was a tweet that I quote tweeted. You can see it on my timeline from Kevin McCulligan, where he was talking about if Kyle and company believe that Purdy's the real deal in the next Breeze, and that what I said before, Darnold is Steve Young, and that Kyle's the best play caller in the NFL. Well, maybe we don't need Bosa then. And I'm not saying that myself. I'm just saying that could be the mindset that they have that's causing them to not go ahead and just get this deal done and get Bosa signed, because it's hurting the whole team. It's hurting Bosa. It's hurting McKivitz. It's hurting the defense. It hasn't had a chance to play with him all off season. So it's hurting everything.
Randy Daytona says TJ Watt makes $28 million. TJ Watt from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Bosa deserves 33 tops. Yeah, he's gonna get a ton of money. I don't know. It's just weird. I'm sure Bosa was probably happy with the initial contract. Was what I'm hearing is the agent is just being extremely greedy about the whole thing. James Durnall says Bosa is.
Oh, then you fire your agent. I mean, come on, that's bull.
What's that? You think
that's bull? That's copping out for Bosa. Like if you don't like what your agent's doing, you fire your agent and you get another one. I mean. No, Bosa is culpable right there with the agent.
James Journal says Bosa's worth $35 million. Easy, don't disrespect the dude. Him and Fred are the heart of the team. Oh yeah, I totally think they are, and I'd love to see both parties just agree to something so we can just get Bosa on the field some way somehow. We're a much weaker team without Bosa. We all saw 2020 what happened when Bosa went down. We were a team that was minutes away from possibly winning a Super Bowl to a team that didn't make the playoffs once Bosa was completely off the field. So it's not going to be good. Master of Any Craft says Kyle had a chance to get Brady and his ego got the best of him. Imagine that would be 2 or 3 rings. Yeah, easily 1 ring just to play extremely conservatively, but most likely about 2 rings if we had Brady. And Yeah, he definitely dropped the ball on that one. But how would Kyle have coincided with Brady though? I mean, just two strong personalities, and Kyle
Doesn't
Brady's
matter.
older
It
than.
doesn't matter if Kyle said no to Brady or Brady said no to Kyle. We didn't get Brady because of Kyle. That's what we got to realize here, folks. Like people making these excuses like, oh, Brady didn't want to play for Kyle. Like that absolves Kyle of blame. It doesn't. It means that top QBs don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to improvise and they want a say in what goes on. And Kyle's like, no, sorry, it's my way or the highway. And so far it's not working. We don't have any rings. Period.
And this is from what I do know, from what somebody has told me, who I trust this guy very much. And Brady was in the offices at Levi's Stadium or Santa Clara headquarters, one of the two, with John and Kyle to meet up with them and talk with them to try to be on the team. So it's obviously, from what I heard was Kyle wasn't going for it, and Kyle was uttering words like, "Oh, well, that guy's older than me. I'm not going to have a good quarterback who's older than me," or something like that. So yeah, I totally believe that. When Steve-O said I'd only give Bosa $28.5 million. Let's see what we got. Terradome says maybe we should get 17 quarterbacks and start a new one each game, count their stats, and start the best for the playoffs.
Well, that's what Kyle tried to do with QB2 and QB3. Kyle tried to say, oh, I'm not going to pick a QB2 or QB3, and maybe I'll just swap them out every week. Maybe I'll just not make a decision after this stupid competition, supposed competition all season, and then he doesn't make a decision. And then either Lance or his agent said, F off, Kyle, make a decision. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So he put Darnold at QB2, and Lance said, get me the F out here. I'd rather be QB3 on any team than the 49ers because of Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, honestly, I was on live with Mariah when she had broke the news to me that Kyle said that in the whatever press conference that day. And I was like, why is this guy still trying to reinvent the wheel with the quarterback position? He does the most unorthodox things. I think if Kyle had handled certain things as a regular coach normally would, way back when we initially had drafted Lance would have been there, and they would have shipped off Jimmy if they thought he was a distraction. They would have brought in another veteran as a backup, and that would have been it. They would have worked on trying to develop him and giving him the proper reps he needed. But again, he didn't do that because he keeps trying to do all these weird things because he thinks he's smarter than it. He is very smart. He is smarter than everybody when it comes to other things, drawing up plays, scheming up people open. We get that, but certain things that are involved with being a head coach.
He's a genius at everything except for QBs and third-round picks not named Fred.
And I just think, when it comes to being a head coach, certain things just slip his mind, and he has these very unorthodox tactics.
Well, there's some brilliance to zigging when everybody else zags. In other words, if everybody is investing in their franchise QB and their O-line and their wide receivers, then if you invest in defense and running backs, then you're going to get better deals on those on the same level of player is going to be cheaper because not everybody's fighting for those same players. So there is some brilliance to it. It hasn't worked yet. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, hey, it needs to work because, like I said, if we're too good to develop Lance, we better be good enough to win it all. That's it. There's no more rope. There's no more NFC Championship's good enough, Kyle. No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so what up, DW? DW says, okay, Jimmy went down too. I get that. Jimmy went down, our starting quarterback, and Solomon Thomas went down. That wasn't really a huge blow, but I mean, the defense obviously was nowhere near the same without Bosa. And then nobody can argue that.
Yeah, Jimmy went down. Sherman went down. Our center Garland went down. You're talking about 2020.
2020.
Yeah, we had a lot of injuries in 2020. But the biggest was Bosa and Jimmy were the two biggest.
Yeah,
Sherman pretty close.
He had a nice little rant I was going to add to, but I forgot what I was going to say. I do remember now, actually. I don't get it. I'm going to mention this again. I don't understand how we lose our quarterbacks, how quarterbacks constantly get injured. And you think this just goes back to Kyle being unorthodox because he is very, very smart when it comes to certain things, but certain common sense type of things that NFL coaches with losing records still think to do. Strengthen the O-line. O-line, the trenches are so important. And he's very invested in the defensive line. He loves investing in D-line. He talks about it too, like, back in the days when I played Madden, my friends would pick quarterbacks and I pick Michael Strahan. Okay, that's fine. I get it. You're invested in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, but the offensive side of the ball, you got to protect your quarterback. You're this offensive genius, right? Don't you want to score points to protect your quarterback? Increase the depth, better the depth of the O-line. I mean, McGlinchey leaves. I get it. You guys have some confidence in McKivitz, but I'm sorry, dude, if there's a guy like DeJuan Jones or there are even other tackles available, why not bring them in? Why not draft one of them? We drafted two.
Why not draft a center who can snap the ball besides Brendel? Because none of our backup centers can snap the damn ball.
I was hearing that all through camp too, that a lot of the backup centers were terrible at snapping the ball, and that's not good if Brendel goes down. I totally agree with that. This I don't want to see any of our old linemen get injured because we're the same team that got rid of Ilm Manning as well. We didn't retain him on the roster. He went to the Cardinals, and I'm going to keep talking about this. Unless this O-line is just stellar and everybody stays healthy, I won't have anything to worry about. But it's a major concern for me, and I wish Kyle would have addressed that in the offseason some way, somehow.
Well, the one thing I'll say about our O-line that I do like is that McKivitz is supposed to be a better pass blocker than McGlinchey. And Matt Pryor, who we kept, clearly is not like an outside zone run scheme tackle. He's not athletic at all to do our run scheme, but he is a pretty good pass blocker. So I think we are starting to pivot our line to be more pass blocking friendly, which I think is a good thing. I think this is part of the reason why so many QBs have gotten hurt is by a lack of pass blocking. I mean, even if you look at Brendel last year, he was not a very good run blocker, but he was a pretty solid pass blocker. I think he only had one sack attributed to him. A lot of penalties, way too, maybe the most penalties of any center, but he was a good pass blocker. And so there may be a shift in our O-line going on. And so we have to give credit to at least the signs of that. And so I think that would be a positive sign, even though we didn't draft an O-lineman. And I know you want DeJuan Jones. I can see why. I mean, there's some logic to like, hey, don't draft, Jake Moody, draft DeJuan Jones, and re-sign Robbie Gold. Then we got a kicker who we trust, and at least O-line depth, if not a starter on the O-line.
And Latu's out for the season now too. They could have drafted the one where Latu was too.
Or you could have gotten my draft crush, Darnell Washington, who's now a Pittsburgh Steeler. He went 93 overall, 6 picks after, Ji'Ayir Brown, who we like Ji'Ayir Brown, but like if you're not doing Latu and Moody, you easily could have got Darnell Washington, who would be a tackle's best friend for McKivitz, to have a 6'8" monster who can throw a blocking sled around like it's child's play.
There were a lot of really, really good, nice impact type players that dropped down to those picks. So you could have sliced it a few different ways. So Panama Queen's here. What's up, Panama? I hope I got everybody's name dropped that showed up in the chat. If I haven't shouted you out, just let me know.
I'll scroll back through and take a look.
Yeah, she says, "What's up, Bash and Ted?" She had a few comments. She said, "Ted going off," and
Master Anycraft. Did you get them?
I got him. Yeah,
okay, cool. I think we got everybody. You got everybody.
Yeah, she said she can't wait for the Bash rant. I'm going to be a little calm today, Panama. I have been calm in other shows, and I think you saw a few of those. So I just, I'm trying to be positive to go into week one, and I'm really, really trying my best, And then, despite there's been some weird negative things that have thrown out. Oh, weird! There you go.
It's just unusual, Bash. It's not weird.
It's not weird. It's unusual. You know what's funny though? Everybody was tweeting that out about Matt Mayoko, and there's like, "Oh,
God bless him! Finally grew a pair."
Yeah, that's what people. Well, some people were saying that Kyle fired back at Matt Mayoko, and Kyle was really, really mad and really pissed. But
he was.
But he was like laughing though. He's like, "What do you think?" It looked like Kyle was in a good mood
because that's what Jimmy did during his interview. Jimmy said, "What do you think?" So he's just copying Jimmy.
Oh, he was mimicking Jimmy. You think? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did he say
Kyle got ruffled and they like pulled the plug on the whole thing. It was like that was it. Right after that, they're like, "Ugh, kill it."
Was that the last question that he took?
It was right around there. It was not long after that. Yeah,
I thought he took another one too. That was some. Who was it though? Remember that press conference that they had that was right after the last preseason game against the Chargers on Friday, and it was the first time that John and Kyle faced the music after the whole Trey Lance trade, that is, and
they had their tails between their legs.
Kyle had his head down the whole time. John Lynch was fidgety, sniffling the whole time. He sounded like he had a cold or
puppies
something.
That just pooped on your rug.
Yeah, and who was it? I want to find out who this guy was. The last guy who asked Kyle Oh, the Denver Broncos game when they brought the ball down to the Trey Lance drove the team down to the 5-yard line or whatever. Why didn't you guys try to punch it in for a touchdown rather than kicking a field goal? And then Kyle was like, "Oh well, we evaluate him every day. Oh, you know what? We should have ran it for you. We should have ran it in for you or whatever." Who was the guy that asked Kyle that question that got Kyle pissed at the very end? And I'll be honest, even though I thought it was kind of funny, even though Kyle shouldn't have done that, it actually made me laugh. So
Yeah, I mean, I was saying it all along that he robbed Lance of a TD, and everybody's like, "Oh, we need Moody to get his confidence up," and I'm like, you're like running the clock out to kick a field goal in a meaningless preseason game, and they're like, "Oh, it's the pressure, the pressure." There's no pressure in a preseason game. It's asinine, and it's just like, work on your offense. But I can see why they wouldn't want Trey to develop, because last thing you want to do is give any more reason for us to question getting rid of him. So good job, Kyle. You did a great job. You sabotaged Trey. It worked. You got him out of town. Now make it happen. Now show us that you were right, because that's your only way to salvage this situation, is show us you were right. If you're wrong, there's going to be hell to pay.
And I do kind of agree with Randy on this one, though. I know that it would have been nice for Lance to throw one in there, but I do think that the fans did need to see something positive from Moody's side, because a lot of what he was showing us was just garbage.
Was it that positive? He snuck it in the right upright from like PAT distance. I mean, was it positive? I don't think it was. He almost missed it.
Well, it was a game-winning kick, right? It was a game-winning kick, you could say.
A preseason, worthless game-winning kick.
Oh my gosh, man. This has been a lot of fun. Sean John's having a lot of fun in the chat. I'm not sure who he's going back and forth with, but he said something. I'm not sure who he's feeling this towards. He said, "Give us an example of a highly drafted quarterback who can't win." Not sure if he's directing that towards somebody else or. Yeah, I mean, there are highly drafted quarterbacks that are busts. I understand that, but a lot of those quarterbacks did have multiple opportunities, multiple seasons of playing, so we really knew. And in general, a lot of the highly drafted guys, we see a lot of reps, we see a lot of games, so we know who are the good ones and who are the bad ones. So with Lance, it's really, really up in the air. Tyler McGurk is here. I guess he's new to the channel. Welcome to the channel. I don't recognize you, but he says kicking in Pittsburgh in week 1 is going to be tough. Hopefully, it doesn't come down to kicking.
It's windy there. It's windy there. But you know what? We got this kicker on our practice squad, Matt Wright, who is a former Steelers kicker. He went somewhere else after that. I forget the other team. But he knows how to kick at Heinz Field. And I thought it'd be pretty poetic if an ex-Steeler kicker got the game-winning kick for the 49ers in Pittsburgh week 1. That'd be pretty awesome. So he definitely knows how to kick there. And, hopefully that's it seems like a very specific pickup for that game. And hopefully it works.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I want to see, hopefully, I don't know if it's Moody's if he's just been nervous about playing in the NFL or something, but it was very disheartening to see a kicker drafted in the 3rd round botch extra points or botch really short field goals. And a lot of people were mentioning in camp that, I mean, you were at the practices. I was only there once, but
he was pretty good.
Mentioning that he was nailing a lot of like 60-yard field goals or long field goals. Did you ever see him work on shorter field goals though when you were there?
Yeah, they did 30, 38, 43, 53, 60 plus. Yeah. They did all the distances. And he would miss one here or there, but it wasn't like what we saw in the preseason games.
Maybe
so I don't know what the issue is, but I just know that I just keep hearkening back to Brian Peacock coming on my show and telling me, hey, Ted, kickers are reverse running backs. And I was like, huh? What do you mean? And he said, well, think of every great kicker you've ever known. They're all in their like mid to late 30s, and running backs, they're like lucky if they make it to their 30s. So, he said it's really hard even for a highly drafted kicker to do well as a rookie in this league. And so far, he really nailed that one, Brian Peacock.
Brian Peacock always goes on with Eric Crocker, the Locked On 49ers podcast, and they do a lot of really good work. So that's out to those guys. I didn't know that you had Brian Peacock on your show, on your channel though. I missed that.
Yeah, no, it's a great show, and real honor to have him on, one of our top content creators for sure.
There you go. Steve O Custom said, if Purdy wins the Super Bowl, I'm gonna get his jersey. Yeah, sure. A lot of people buy his jersey if we win the Super Bowl. A lot of people will be be nice to have another parade in downtown San Francisco. A lot of people will be looking forward to that. I'm not going to jump too far ahead though. I like to take.
I will too, Steve-O.
There you go. So he already got Steve Young's jersey on.
And then people will say, "Well, you can't root for Purdy if you don't think he's going to do well." I'm like, absolutely, I can. I can root for whoever I want, and if I have doubts about them, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to root for them. Jeez, I rooted for freaking Jimmy G every Sunday. You bet I'm going to root for Purdy, who I like a ton more than Jimmy G.
You guys are cracking me up.
Just what I say is like, hey, I root for our quarterback, whoever it is, every Sunday or whatever the game day of the week is. The other 6 days depends on how they did.
There you go. Okay, Somi's here. What's up, Somi? Good to see you. What's up, Niner fam? Kind of getting down to the last minutes of the show, but let's switch gears a little bit. Unless you guys have other questions in the chat. If you guys do have questions that we
haven't even talked about. We talked about the O-line a little bit with Ilman.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but you didn't really. I mean, I was sad to see Old Manning go, especially to the Cards.
I was going to talk about the players that left, and I just wanted to see if anybody in general had questions on things that we didn't cover too. So if there's stuff that we didn't cover you want us to talk about, go ahead and let us know. But let's talk about Old Manning and just certain players that we didn't hold on to and they went to other teams.
Yeah. So Old Manning, I thought was better than Matt Pryor. I thought he was better, maybe even better than Jalen Moore, but I get that Jalen Moore has a lot more seniority. And then the one that really irked me was, because I did mention at least Pryor pass blocks well. And so I can sort of see if we're doing a shift on our O-line to help protect our quarterbacks, and let Purdy be more of a point guard. I think that's a good plan. As far as Nick Zakelj, I don't like that one at all. I thought Nick Zakelj was not good in camp. He couldn't snap the ball. He didn't play well at guard. He got blown by at guard in the preseason games and had a ton of penalties. I thought Nick Zakelj was possibly our worst O-lineman. So I think letting Keith Ismail go and he got picked up by the Cards too. I think that's a mistake. And also Joey Fisher got let go. And now guess where he is, folks? He's on the Steelers. We may see Joey Fisher week 1. Probably take an injury since he's on the practice squad. But you never know. So yeah, I'm unhappy that we lost Il Manning, Joy Fisher, and Keith Ismail probably third on the list. I mean, that one I'm not as upset about, but Il Manning was a big one.
Yeah, I don't get how I know Nick Zakelj was drafted last year, and I get it. You kind of do want to hold on to certain draft picks and develop those players from time to time, but he was terrible. He was just garbage. I mean, and my point is there were guys ahead of him that were better. I mean, there were guys that we let go that were better, basically.
I think it was just a size thing. I think, Il Manning is 6'2", and, Joey Fisher's 6'2", Matt Pryor is huge, and Nick Zakelj is large and has long arms. And so it's maybe more of a thing of they're keeping Zakelj to develop sort of like how we developed Brendel. And, for future years, but if we have to play Zakelj this year, I think we're going to be really sad that that we kept him around. I think there's a lot of better options that could have filled in this year.
That's one thing I don't understand is that, I mean, size is one thing, but actual technique and actually playing the game, it should just overcome the whole size thing. I mean, talent and technique. I mean, Il Manning, I don't care if he's only 6'2". I don't care if he doesn't have the long arms. He was looking good in those preseason games. He was showing nice technique. He was a tackle at Hawaii. That was his natural position. That just really scratches my head. I don't think Nick Zakelj would have done anywhere near as good as he did had we played Nick Zakelj at left tackle. Not at all.
No.
So,
and then
Paradome says you got to have the measurables. That's what counts here. But certain players have measurables and they don't look good though. That's what I don't get. And then
meanwhile, Purdy's only measurable is quickness. Purdy's only elite measurable is quickness. And he's a mental giant, great leader, great between the ears, and that's probably the more important side of things. But when you're missing on a lot of physical tangibles, measurables, that's not a good thing. So, but yeah, there's some other practice squad folks or 53-man roster cuts that hurt. Deshaun Jameson is right up there with Il Manning for me. Real solid corner out of Texas, but also kick returner. And now, what do you know? Ray Ray's hurt. Danny Gray's hurt. So we're down to basically Ronnie Bell, and I guess to return punts, and I guess Snead can do kick returns, but Snead's not even on the 53-man roster. He's on the practice squad. He could get poached at any time.
Yeah, I don't want Snead to be our return guy. He's not fast at all. I was really.
I mean,
really
at this
pushing for
point, Bash, we need just see someone who can catch the ball and not muff the kick or the catch or fumble it right after that.
You know, when we first signed Deshaun Jameson as an undrafted free agent, I was pretty excited about it. I really, really wanted to see what he could do because his kick returning skills in college were amazing. And I was like, oh, that would be really, really nice. I really think this guy could give Ray McLeod a run for his money as a returner. But then I was hearing throughout camp that like Deshaun Jameson was actually doing some nice things as a corner in camp. And, you know, he wasn't too bad in the preseason games either. And I knew some good players would be cut on this team and let go. It just sucks to see him go because he's a double duty type of player, and we're never going to see him again. So, which really, really sucks. So I don't know. We kept Ambry Thomas. We did retrain Quantrez Knight when we initially waived him and cut him. We were able to get him.
And there was a lot of interest. We almost lost him, but he came back on the practice squad, so that's good.
Yeah. So. Yeah, can't think of who else that we lost or we could have gotten.
It's more about who we kept. We kept Isaiah Oliver when he didn't look good. So again, this might be more of a development thing, a size thing, you know, but and a guaranteed money thing. I think he has 2.7 mil guaranteed. So roster politics, but it's sad. I mean, especially if Deshaun Jameson goes off and becomes DJ Reed 2.0. That would be really painful. That would suck.
It sure would. I was going to mention something about one of the players. Okay. The Raiders cut Jordan Willis. You guys, obviously, Jordan Willis was a nice fill and pass rusher for us. He looked good in the game we played against him when he was on the Las Vegas Raiders in the preseason. So when he was available, I was hoping that we'd go out and try to get him. I don't know what's going on. I'm surprised the 49ers weren't one of the first teams to jump on it. Supposedly he's still available. I was hearing that the Cowboys had a good amount of defensive ends that were probably going to be released because their defensive end room was a lot deeper than ours, and we could have probably snagged one of their guys. But we're just sticking with some of the guys we have, and I guess there's major concerns just trying to sign Bosa and not trying to pick up some accessory players. Really not sure what they're trying to do with that in terms of our backup defensive ends, and I don't know. Maybe they like Austin Bryant a lot. Maybe they like Clelin Ferrell a lot. I really hope Drake Jackson does pan out. There were times in the preseason where he did look pretty nice. I just didn't see him for long stretches. So, I want to see Drake Jackson emerge. I just don't know how good he's really, really going to be. Last year, I predicted from all the good stuff I heard in the preseason. Last year, I just made a bold prediction. I said 10 sacks for Drake Jackson. I was way off on that. I didn't know that he was barely going to play in the second half of the season. He got off to a nice start. We all know he can bat passes down, but what do you think about the whole defensive end room and just any guys that you wanted to pick up from other teams that we didn't get?
We didn't pick up anybody from other teams except for that one Shamar cornerback from the Green Bay Packers, but he's practice squad, not 53-man roster. The other one that I was upset about losing was Marcelino McCrary-Ball. He went to the Jets practice squad. And I think that's, and maybe it's a symptom of just having us having a really crowded linebacker room, and he knew it'd be tough for him to crack the roster here. But it also just, I don't know, it's unusual for someone to pick practice squad on another team over practice squad on the team he's been on for a year and a full off season. So I thought that was odd. But I think Oren Burks is the one that maybe, might have been a mistake to keep. And we'll see what happens with him. He's obviously a very good special teamer, but again, I think it's one of these roster politics, salary, veteran type plays. Whereas I think McCrary-Ball was the better linebacker in camp and preseason.
I did think so. I agree with you on that one.
Somebody said that he worked out too much and maybe got stiff or lost flexibility. I don't know about that.
Oh, really?
I seemed like he played well to me, but that's an interesting theory and one that I thought was
when the initial cuts went down. I did not like the fact that I saw Dwelly on the roster and Fumagalli was gone, especially since Cameron Latu, who I thought he looked kind of good at times in the preseason, but he's out for the season with an injury, I think. So that sucks. But I thought Fumagalli should have stayed on the general roster, a 53-man roster, over Dwelly, and then we lost Fumagalli, and then we ended up bringing him back off of waivers, which is good. We have him on the practice squad now, so at least we have that. I'm just not a big Dwelly guy. I know people say he has hands, but
And he plays special teams is the other thing.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
He's a gunner. He was
Okay,
the
so
one week 2 against Seattle when they muffed the punt. He was the one who recovered it inside the 10 that led to an easy Jimmy G touchdown after Trey Lance had been injured in that game. So, it's a long season. I doubt it'll end up that way. It'll be interesting to see, but I think Fumagalli will take Dwelly's spot eventually.
I just think he does everything better. He's bigger, should be a better blocker by default. Dwelly does not block it at all. Now I don't know about Fumagalli's hands. I believe he's missing a finger on one of his hands or something like that. I'm not sure if you knew about that.
No, I didn't.
You can look it up. Yeah, a friend of mine's a Wisconsin fan, and he was always talking about Fumagalli being pretty good. So I took his word for it that this guy might be good, and he didn't look too bad in the preseason. Robert Marquez, welcome to the channel. Never seen you before. I guess you're new to the channel. Says we can't give Bosa $30 million a year. We won't be able to sign Ayuk and others next year. Give him a big signing bonus and tell him to get his ass in camp because Clelin Ferrell is looking good. Number 90, I see number 94 all over. I'm not sure what he means by that 94 part, but I guess Clelin Ferrell's I guess Clelin Ferrell's wearing number 94. Is probably what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I do want Bosa to get what he wants. I mean, I do want players to be happy. Obviously, I don't know if Ayuk would come back. Who knows? I mean, he's mentioning that we won't be able to sign Ayuk. Hopefully we do, but something tells me that who knows? Maybe Ayuk might leave, or maybe we won't retain Jennings. But we did get that rookie Ronnie Bell. A lot of people are excited in him. He had some pretty nice plays in training camp. So. Preseason and all that. I'm not sure. Was Ronnie Bell looking really, really good to you when you just went to the practices? I mean, I'm not talking about the preseason games, but when you were at the practices, did Bell really stand out to you?
Not at first, but he came on later in the camp. And yeah, I mean, in preseason games, he had the most yak of anybody in the preseason. So I was calling him Bell the Bull.
Yeah, I actually could have talked to him. He was like five feet away from me, but I just didn't know who he was. I didn't recognize him. But then once they showed him on the sidelines at the games. During the games,
Kelt has one too. Kelt said Ronnie ringing bells, which I like.
Yeah, so once Bell took his helmet off during the games, I was like, oh, okay, I recognize that guy. Now I do. Now I recognize him. Snowy says Burks is a badass in special teams and very underrated as a utility backer. Hopefully, we'll see. We got Xavier Malara, if I'm saying that right. He says, let's go 49ers. Let's win Super Bowl 6. I guess you're new to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe button. And we got another guy who's new. Welcome all the new subscribers. Welcome all the new people coming on here. Dan the Corn Man, really cool, funny name there. I don't know. I guess we don't know each other, but if you're new to the channel, it's all good. It says I'm sitting on Twitter waiting on Bosa news. Yes, we are. If you saw my little thumbnail that I made, it has Bosa doing this like he normally does, but on one hand it says contract. It's got a contract with a pen. The other hand, it has time. Basically, we're running out of time to sign Bosa. What up, Jesse? Jesse Naylor from Last Second Sports. This guy has one of the bigger YouTube channels, 49er channels out there. I believe he's over 1,000 subscribers. Hey, I'm glad to hear that the whole hurricane that came to Tampa wasn't as bad as initially expected. There were some pretty bad things that happened initially, but at least you and your family weren't affected by it. From what I understand, I don't know how your friends are doing, but prayers do go out to people who were affected at least things did calm down. That's good to know. But good to see you here, Jesse. I didn't get to meet you at training camp. I know you and Ted cross paths, though.
Much to his chagrin, but I was hard to avoid.
Okay, so Tyler McGurk says, how did Ty Davis Price make the roster? You want to answer that one?
Because we cut A-Watt and Laybourne, so there wasn't a lot of choice.
You know what? I didn't when A-Watt and Kalen Laybourne and Ronald A-Watt were picked up as undrafted free agents. I saw their clips, I saw their videos, but in terms of them being 49er players in the preseason, I didn't notice much from either one. Was there one that you liked more than the other, or was there one that you possibly liked more than TDP?
I just liked that Awatt was fast, like kind of like Mostert type speed. And probably not quite like Mostert, but closest thing we've had since Mostert to that kind of breakaway speed. But it seemed like most people liked LeBourne better. They felt like he was more polished, had more experience, a better, more complete back, even though he's not as fast. But yeah, I was surprised that neither of them made the team. There was a lot of hype around them early in the offseason, for sure, when we got them as UDFAs right after the draft.
Okay, cool. That's good to hear. We got an explanation for the name. He says, my name is Dan the Cornman because I'm from Nebraska and a Huskers fan, Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'm an Irish fan.
Corn fed, baby.
So let me guess, your dad became an Irish fan probably because of Roger Craig. That's my guess, because Roger Craig is a Husker.
And Rathman,
Tom Rathman joined the team a little bit later. They're both Cornhuskers, and they were in the same backfield for quite some time. So
don't mention the third one now.
Who's the third one?
The one who missed the block that got Steve Young.
Lawrence Phillips. Oh my gosh. You know what? That was the one game where he actually had a big, nice, huge touchdown run for us too. Mm-hmm. But in general, he sucked for us, and I believe he's no longer with us. I know he was in jail at one point, and he had a pretty troubled life. Yeah, he actually he had some crazy. I think he ran over somebody with a car or something like that. Which was what sent him to prison. Something crazy happened, and he might not be alive anymore. So he's got a pretty crazy life. Yeah. So here we go. He says, my dad was an Iron fan because he grew up in California and loved Joe Montana. Okay, there you go. Okay, cool. But my dad was also born in Nebraska. Cool. Welcome to the channel. Good to see you. Okay, so we got a prediction. This is early. This is an early prediction. Xavier Millara says 49ers 38 versus Steelers 9 week 1. I hope you're right, man. That's a bold prediction right there. We never know what can happen, and it's too early for me to predict anything. But if you want to predict, go right ahead. That's cool, man. Let's see.
I'd flip that if Bosa doesn't play.
He said he'd flip it. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Well, Kittle, if Bosa and Kittle both don't play, I mean that's two of our top 6 players on the team.
James Durnall says 21-10 49ers. Okay, there you go. And let's see. Terradome says running back blocking is paramount. Yeah, TDP. I like TDP. I want him to succeed, but this is I'm very iffy on the whole fact that he has problems with pass blocking. If there was somebody better that we let go of, that's not a good idea to keep him around just because we drafted him. And if Kyle's trying to make him work because he was a 3rd pick overall, I don't know. He was drafted in the 3rd round, that is. But
we say for our receivers, no block, no rock, but I think it probably goes for the running backs too.
I thought Bobby Turner was really, really huge on blocking though, so that's what I thought though this whole time. Randy Daytona says, does any other team carry multiple 7-round picks? Not too many, that's for sure. And just trying to pick up the comments that were left here. If you have anything else that you want to cover that we haven't covered, Ted, let me know.
Well, you mentioned that you were mad about Dwelly, but I mean I was really happy that Braden Willis, the 7th round pick, made the 53-man roster. So that I was excited about that. The other things we should talk about is receivers that got cut. Chris Conley, I thought maybe might make the 53-man roster. Snead, I thought might make the 50-man roster. And then there was Tay Martin and Winstead. Luckily, we got all 4 onto the practice squad. And then another key one from the practice squad is Jack Coletto. Don't be surprised if he gets poached off of there, though. I suppose there was a lot of interest in him from Seattle, KC, the Jets, Texans, maybe the Dolphins too. So he may not last the whole season on the practice squad, but at least we got him for now.
We do, and I do understand that you can protect a certain amount of players on the practice squad for being poached. Isn't that correct? Remember they made some rule like that.
I think it's temporary. I think there's maybe 3. I don't know. Maybe it's 3 players, but I don't know if it's for the whole season and if pulling them up affects that or whatnot. I'm not a practice squad expert.
Me neither. I do remember there was one thing I was going to touch on. I was talking about Jordan Willis, but just in general with the D line, like we never draft. And when I was doing my mock drafts, I was looking for a few of these guys. We never draft those huge, like 330-pound run stuff in defensive tackles. So they're just there to just clog up space and
space eaters.
Yeah, and I'm assuming there might be somebody like that possibly available on the waiver wire, but we never seem to pick one of those guys up. We always pick up these smaller type athletic type D tackles, but when you need to stop the run, man, it would just it'd be really, really nice to just pick up one of those guys, especially if we're having issues stopping the run during the regular season. I don't know. Hopefully, they better fix that because I don't want to see smaller D linemen out there getting pushed back, or even bigger D linemen like him, like Kinlaw getting pushed back in the run game.
No doubt about it. No, yeah, and we probably should have drafted a defensive end. Then we would at least have some leverage against Bosa right now. As it stands, we are so thin at defensive end. We were already thin even with Bosa, let alone without him. It's tragic. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I got you there. So it looks like we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, thank you guys for showing up in the chat, everybody participating. We had a huge turnout on both channels, actually. So we appreciate all that. If you're not subscribed to either or channel, subscribe to Ted's channel, Ted Talks Ball. If you're watching on Ted's channel, go ahead and subscribe to 49er Minded. So, yeah, anything else you want to touch on before we get going?
Just wanted to, I titled my show Kenny Pickett versus Purdy Week 1 looms. Seems like Pickett had a really good preseason. I think he scored a TD on every drive that he was in. I don't know. I think he's a good QB. I don't know that he's better than Purdy, but it's going to be interesting to see this showdown. He's got a lot of good weapons with George Pickens, with Deontay Johnson. They have a really good running back. I'm blanking on his name, the one from Bama. And then obviously they had their incumbent tight end and this tight end Darnell Washington that they drafted. Steelers, I think it's going to be a really tough matchup a week from Sunday.
I did too. And I didn't like Pickett so much last year during the regular season. But I do remember seeing Pickett in the preseason last year, and I was thinking, okay, this guy looks pretty good. So who knows if that's going to carry out to this season? You said he looked good this preseason as well. So that's going to be very interesting to take note of, and it may be a problem for our defense perhaps. And hopefully our defense steps up, and hopefully Bosa's there to play defense. Dan the Corman says that Bosa apparently wants $4 million. Bosa apparently wants $4 million more than they offered him. Yeah, so we got to make that happen some way, somehow. Ryan Stevenson says Mac Jones is the worst. God bless the Pats. So welcome. I think you're from Ted's channel, but welcome to Ted's channel. And you can always check me out as well. Check out my channel.
Please do.
So we got the Steelers coming up. We're going to need Bosa out there. I don't trust this defense without Bosa. I just don't.
We need Kittle. We need Hufanga. I mean, I like Ji'Ayir Brown, but man, we don't need him starting games. First game of his rookie season. Like, we need to ease him in the same way we eased in Hufanga, with 3 safety packages, and do it slowly rather than throw him right into the line of fire. That would make me very nervous.
Got that. So definitely check out Ted Talks Ball on his channel. You got any special guests coming up?
Well, it's Friday, so just right now, just the usuals are set for next week. Got Ryan on Monday, No BS Ted, 3:30 Pacific on Tuesday. And then Aaron on Wednesdays for First and Ted at 3:30s. And then I've been doing Pedro from Niners DNA on Thursdays at 2:45 p.m. So I kind of have afternoon shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday every week. Obviously, balling Fashion Ted with you every Friday. So
Cool.
It's been nice.
Sean Johns just dropping in the chat, says, I think the $4 million thing was taken out of context, guys. Look up Albert Breer. He clarified. Not sure what he said. I can just jump on my Twitter really quick and just see if there's anything interesting that may have been said as of late. So
yeah, I haven't been checking. I've been focused on this. But.
Yeah, I didn't have my Twitter open, but I just opened it now just to see if there's anything. Let's see. Looking for it right now. If it does pop up, one of you guys can maybe copy and paste it, perhaps, because I don't see it on my feed just yet. I'm looking for it just to see if there's anything interesting about this Bosa thing that he may have just said. But it looks like I just see people responding and laughing. They're like, "Look what you did!" So it says this was a misinterpreted tweet written by Albert Breer, and then everyone ran with it. Okay. So who knows? Who knows what's going on with this Bosa thing?
What we do know is there's no deal, and so either the Niners are being cheap or Bosa's being greedy or both. So that's it. It's just simple.
Yeah. see how that plays out. So as far as my channel goes, as far as guests coming up, whenever I do have a special guest on, I'll let you guys know. For the most part, I've just been mainly doing the set in stone type shows of mainly weekly collaborations. Ball and Bash and Ted on Fridays. On Tuesdays, it's the Bring the Heat podcast that I do with Mariah from 49 Faithfully's podcast. She had to sit out the last one, and we had Terradome jumped in, and he was the fill-in guy for us. He did a great job, actually. And Ryan's on there for No Border Sports. And so it's me, Mariah, myself, and Ryan from No Border Sports. So definitely check us out every Tuesday at 6:00. We alternate between channels, actually. It's for the Bring the Heat podcast. We do the Ball with Bash and Ted on Fridays with both channels. And then if I do have special guests to jump in, I do feature like 49er hip hop artists or sometimes 49er entrepreneur type guys who basically sell 49er merchandise and create their own merchandise, or just certain people that have certain Niner 49er channels or Niner content creators. And it's always good to feature on different guests, and sometimes there's up and coming type of guests I like to feature. So it's always good to have different types of guests and feature whoever's out there that may want to be known. So so it just says pay the man. Let's do this. Thank you guys for watching. There goes where Roski says that's a lot of money. Good to see you here, dude. Thank you guys for watching Ballin' with Bash and Ted on the 49er Minded channel, where we get into the minds of 49er fans to keep repping those 49ers and stay 49er minded. Sign Bosa. Let's go Niners. Beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Peace.
Come on, 49er faithful, let's get it.
Because it's 49er mind.
We gotta do this one time for the Empire.
It's 49er mind. It's 49er mind.
We gotta get that brick by brick real quick.
49er mind.
Yeah. Yo, we can't listen to them haters, man.
49er mind.
We from the Bay.
49er mind.
We them San Francisco 49ers.
49er mind.
We got that